Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. Before we get started, as usual, I want to thank all the people that made such a lovely comment in my last video. And I did post a short little video talking about Carol Powers winning the little gift that I had offered for noticing my nail polish. But anyway, thank you so much for your comments and your encouragement and your support of my YouTube channel. In today's video, I thought I would do something with this canvas print I did several months ago. Now, you guys may notice this. I did a video on this before, and I'm just going to reiterate real quick. I ordered this canvas paper off of Amazon. I will link it for you. It's for inkjet. It says art paper, compatible with all inkjet printers, 8.5 by 11. There is only 10 sheets, but I figure you don't need that much for it. And it says to print on one side. However, I found out through experimenting that you can actually print it on both sides without any problem. And you can feel it's a canvas, it's light. So I thought, let's make a journal out of this. Now the front of this paper, this canvas piece, I used the Renaissance kit from Rachel over at Roxy Creations. And then I saw these borders here. This was the way it printed on my computer, but I thought, well, I really don't want to cut them off because I don't want to make the journal any smaller than it is. So I have a couple of ideas on how to solve that. One is I have some fabric and it's just old upholstery fabric, and I have a little piece of it, and I thought for the bottom I would take it and sew it here. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half and pin it, and I'm going to put you on hold while I grab some pins, and I'll be back and we'll do that. Okay, I've got my pins, and what I'm doing is folding it in half, and then I'm going to slide my canvas sheet in there. Now, if I wanted to, I could be real proficient and go iron this, which I probably should so that it will stay. I'll be right back. I'm going to go iron this so that the crease is in there. You know, it just doesn't pay you to try to take shortcuts, does it? So let me press this down so it's got a nice little crease and it'll go on my canvas journal cover evenly. Oh, look at that. What a difference. Why didn't I do that before? Oh, crazy girl. So yeah, that's much better. And then it will hold in place while I sew it too. So let me undo my iron so I don't burn myself. And let me bring in my piece. And I like this little ruffled or torn edge there. I like that, so I'm not going to remove it. And it's also going to be on the other side too. So let's just slip that in there. And then after I sew it, I can cut these ends off. So let me just pin it and let's see what it looks like on the other side once I'm done. So how is everybody doing? I'm doing fantastic. Just had my daughter bring, well, actually, I went and picked him up. I went and picked Finn up yesterday. She had her housekeepers coming over. And so, because he's so friendly, wants to jump all over them and what have you, um, he comes to my house while her housekeepers are there. And so we had a nice little lunch. I made him a couple of scrambled eggs and some ham. And we had a nice lunch. And then I said, Finn, let's go take a nap. It's time to take a nap. Oh boy, there he headed to my bedroom, jumped right up on my bed. I know what that means, Grandma. So we had a nice little nap together. And then my daughter came and picked him up. And so it's fun to have him around. Okay, so I like the way that looks. And it's going to be okay over here on this side. So before I sew that down, let's decide what to do up here. So I have some different upholstery fabric, and this has a floral image on it, but you won't be able to see it really because it's just going to be such a small strip up here at the top. So I'm going to do the same thing. I cut it, I believe, about 1.5 inches, so there'll be about a 3/4 inch edge around each side. And I'm going to iron that in half and then pin it to the top of the fabric. It might be a little wonky because I'm obviously having a little problem here lining this up. Here, I think I'm okay now. This is also going to give some strength to the journal itself. And then I figure I will also put a little bit of lace on both sides. And then I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to tie it with, what kind of closure I'm going to have. So now let's see what this looks like pinned on here. And then, like I said, I will trim. I like this side better. I will trim the edges off after I'm done sewing it. And I just realized I have black thread in my sewing machine. And as much as I hate changing threads, I probably should. It will look better if I do. I could change it to a gray color. Even a dark gray would look nice. And then maybe I could do some decorative stitching, and then that would show up. We'll see what this is going to be like. It's going to be a nice, flexible journal cover. Yeah, I don't think that distracts too much from the image here. The other thing I'm going to be able to do is, what I'll do is I will sew down here somewhat, and then I can also add some lace. And now I'm just wondering, should I make that not quite so wide there? No, I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay. So I have finished sewing both the top and bottom, and I really like the way it turned out. The top one I did a decorative stitch, but my thread kept breaking, and this fabric down here is just a little bit thicker, so I thought I better not chance it, and all I did with the bottom here was to use a zigzag stitch. So now I'm just going to trim off the edges here of the fabric. And then I think what I'm going to do for this other, for the ends, is just glue lace. And let me show you which one I'm kind of thinking of. Yeah, I like the way that looks. And as you fold it, I think it looks really nice. I might even do a little bit of slow stitching around here. We'll have to see. But this is the lace I'm thinking about using. And I've looked at a bunch of my different laces, but the thing I felt like I had to consider is I want to fold it over just like the front and back, and I needed a lace that looked similar on both ends, on both edges. So I like this. I think this will work just fine. So let me measure some out. And then we will just glue that down with our Fabri-Tac. And just to make sure I have more than enough, I think I'm going to cut it a little bit on the long side. And then, so what I want to do is glue it. Oh, but I don't want to cover this lady up. So I need to glue this here. And then when I flip it over, let me look, it'll be a little bit longer on this side, which is fine. I think that's going to be just fine. So the main thing is only have my glue there. And like I said, I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac. A subscriber asked me the other day what to do about 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac that is too thick. Remember, add a little acetone to it and that will thin it out and your glue will be just fine. And I'm going to use my little silicone spatula here to press it down. And then when that dries, I will turn it over and do the other side. And I think that's going to be very pretty. Okay, and then let me just bring it over to this side and we'll do the same thing over here. So my Italian journal sold, and it was interesting. A lot of people thought I was making it for myself, and I had never any intention of making it for myself. And the main reason is I have so many journals that I already journal in. I have my everyday journal, and then I have a prayer journal that I take to church on Sunday. And I, even though I took lots of pictures in Italy, I don't know if you recall when I made the journal after my trip to Ireland, that thing was monstrous. And to fill up a journal with lots of pictures from a trip, that was a feat. So I knew I wasn't going to do it for my Singapore and Italy trip. So thank you, Pam, for buying the journal. I appreciate that. And then we'll just lay that there. And we've got more than enough overhang. That's pretty. I like that. That's going to be nice. So I'm going to let those dry. And then we'll see what else we're going to do. When this side was dry, I turned it over and glued down this side. So now I can trim off the edges here. And I can save those little scraps for little snippets and what have you. And I thought of a neat idea for the inside of the cover. So that's the way it looks on the outside front part. And so it will be folded like that, and there will be a tie closure. And I think I'm still debating on slow stitching. And this is my dilemma. Let me tell you what my thoughts are. I went through my stash and I found a couple of doilies. This doily's cool because it's fabric. The whole thing is fabric, but there's little tuck spots here. And I want it to be here in this corner, but I thought I want it to be stable enough to where when you slide something in there, it won't flop around. And then I found this one also in my stash. I don't know where I picked this up, but it's beautiful. So that's the correct side, this side right here. And so then I'm going to glue that there. And what I did to get these circles is I have some nesting dies. These are from Stampin' Up, and these were, I believe, Hero Arts, but they're good to have in your arsenal of craft supplies because you never know when you're going to need a circle die just the right circumference to put a doily over. So if I put those like that, then I have still a really nice center to be able to sew in my signatures. But this again is my dilemma. So to slow stitch on this side, you're going to see the thread through it. So I thought I could slow stitch here on her, and then once I put this over it, you're not going to be able to see that slow stitching. I think that's a great idea, just to add some slow stitching here to make her dress look like fabric. And then again, I'm not sure, but maybe just this is enough. So I'm going to do a little stitching. I'm going to try to find some thread to match this, and we will see what happens from there. Okay, you guys, I am excited now. I love when the creative juices just start flowing and the ideas keep coming, and just, oh, it's so much fun. Oh, anyway, so I found some thread for her dress. And even though this one is a little bit darker than her dress, this is more the color of her dress. I thought this darker one looked a little bit more regal. And then, so I'm going to use that. Then I also grabbed some gold thread. Now, I don't know if I'll use this or this, but I am going to do a little stitching around her arm there, and maybe around here. But then I had forgot about my velvet powder. So I'm going to use that velvet powder. You guys have seen me do this before. You get these from Amazon, and I will link them with you. They come with this whole big set. You don't need that many of them. I'm going to use the black here and here. And let me show you what I do. All you have to do is apply glue where you want your velvet to be. And the other thing I need to do is turn off my ceiling fan. Because otherwise that's going to go everywhere. And let me move this big light out of the way. I hope you guys can still see. Okay. So what I do is, all I do is take some art glitter glue, and I put it where I want the velvet to be. I'm so excited I can hardly talk. And I have a little spoon because I wish I had done it before I put this lace down. But I think what I can do, hang on, I'm looking for my little spoon. It's not as little as I thought it was. But anyway, if I get a little bit here, I will just take some tape and pull it off that way instead of brushing it off. So let's hope this is successful. I love the way this looks. So I'm just going to take off my glasses so I can get down close and see. So I'm just going to run a little bit of the glue along here. And then she's got some beading up closer to that edge. So what I'll have to do is bring in a little bit of Nouveau drops. So we're just going to come like this. Okay, I'm going to start with that area. And this is cool. It's like velvet. It's a powder, and wherever the glue is, it sticks, and then it will come off where there is no glue. It just adds another little dimension to your project. And when it dries, I'm going to show you guys. It looks like she's got a wig on. And then I just kind of press it down into that glue. And I'm going to do this area now, and then I'll be back with you guys. That's what it looks like right now. It looks like a hot mess, but I promise you, when I'm done, it's going to look really cool. So let's let it dry. Well, let's see what it looks like. And I have had to, a couple of times, add more than one application. And once I put all of the gold also around her little cap, it'll look better. Now that got in there good. That's quite thick. But that's what I want it to be like. I want it to look like a velvet sleeve. And I'll bring it up real close and let you guys see. I'm gonna come around this way. And then I'll do a little bit of flicking off to get all of it off. Let me just put that little bit back in the container. And then this here is part of her headdress. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this over on the trash can and kind of flick it real quick so I don't get any of that velvet there. So hang on just a second, guys. Okay. Isn't that cool looking? I got a little bit here still. That may be part of her outfit, because I don't think that had glue there. But let me bring you in, and once we put that gold all around the headdress and I stitch here, it's going to look cool. But I don't know if you can see, but look at how cool. It looks like part of her dress. So I'm going to mull over what I'm going to do next. I'm doing some gold stitching around her arm and her veil. And what I'm having to do is punch the hole first on this side, then coming around, because I don't want to be searching for the hole by poking. So now I can see where that hole is, and I can just come in and just do a real, I need to bring some more light in, and bring a real small stitch there. It's taking me a long time, but I love this detail kind of stuff. So again, to find where I need to stitch, I come in and I poke a hole, then I go through the back and then bring the needle up. And then go back down. And what I plan to do is continue this. I did use 4 strands for around her arm here. I'm doing 2 strands here, but I think I'm going to do just 1 strand here. I think that'll look okay. So I wanted to let you guys know where I was at in this process. I'm loving it. I finished all the stitching. I added little X's here for her belt, and I also even did some weaving stitching so that it looked a little bit more regal. Now, when it printed off here on the canvas, this area here was a little distorted from the original piece. And on this paper one, you can see she has like a headdress on with kind of a veil fabric there. And so I have brought in some lace that is the similar color, and I'm just going to cut some to represent that. Now it's too long, so I need to probably about like that. And then let's see, how do I want to do this? Let me turn this like this so I can measure it. So that is the length, pretty good. I love the way this looks this way. Let's see here. Because it looks like it's flowing a little bit more. And it's definitely not very wide there. Let me just do this. So it's the next day. I sometimes with my projects, and I'm sure you guys do too, I don't like the way that looks, is you come back the next day. You let something kind of sit for a little bit, and you come back and you take a look at it and see what it needs, what you like about it, what needs to be changed. And one thing is, to me now, with all of this seems a little bit plain. So I'm going to do some updating with that. I wonder if I fold that down. No, I don't know. It's just something that doesn't quite go. And then I have this little bit of trim that does make it a little bit better. Okay, so that's going to be covered, so I think I can use this. So I'm just going to cut that like that. I don't know if I want it to go off to the side. I'm going to trim just a tiny bit here. I'm wondering if I want like a double layer. So it looks like it's cascading. What do you guys think? I don't think that's too bad. let's measure this. It's definitely not going to be very long. See, in the picture, it kind of goes up. But I'm thinking, do I want it to be outside of the frame? So I'm going to fiddle with this for a little bit, and then I will show you what I came up with. So what I ended up doing was taking some of this lace. I didn't like that it was flat, and so I bunched it up and then just took a little bit of this embroidery thread and sewed it bunched up and then glued it down. Now, I think I want to trim just ever so slightly here. It's sticking out a little bit too much. That's a little bit better. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now, like I said, since there's so much going on here, I feel like this is now a little bit too plain. And I have this gold and black trim, and I think that just adds another element of the regalness of the whole piece. So I am going to glue it down here, but then here I don't want to get rid of that stitching, so I don't think I'm going to go over the whole thing here. I may only go halfway. So let me glue that down and I'll be back with you. But yeah, I like that. That looks nice. So I finished gluing this down and I really did like the look of it. I think it looks very regal and nice. And so then now I flipped it over and I wanted to make sure it stays flat, because sometimes if you have too much dimension with the front or back cover of a journal, it's difficult to write in. And these edges seemed a little plain, so I added a little bit of gold trim here. Then I added more of this here. And now I want to come in and add my pockets. Remember yesterday or earlier in the video, I did these circles using a die to be able to make the doily a little bit more stable for a pocket. And originally I was going to put this one on this side and this one to the back, but my stitching shows through here. So I'm switching it up and I'm going to put this pocket here and then this little tuck spot, remember, here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. And I'm just going to do the bottom and the side here. So I need to flip this over. And I'm just taking some of my Fabri-Tac glue. Okay, I can go a little bit more. Yeah, and I think that's the bottom. And I'm just going to lay that there. And that is going to create a really nice little pocket there. I can even come in here and see where it is. Lift it up a tiny bit, make sure I've got glue right there. It may take it a minute to dry, but that's fantastic. And the same thing with this one, but over in this corner. So let's see, I need to go from here, probably about there and up. Let me go here. I love this. I think this is going to look very, very cool. A very cool journal. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. Oh, and the other thing I thought is, now you may not be able to see it a lot because there's going to be lots of papers in here, but I thought this looked a little plain here. And I thought instead of going across the whole bottom, which I thought was just a little bit too much, I thought I would just do 3 little points there and just have it in the center there, just to kind of break that up. So let's add that. Oops, almost got off of the, I may have even gotten some on my mat, but I'll be careful here. Yeah, just a tiny little bit in between there, just to kind of break that up. At this point, I feel the journal cover is complete. I decided against stitching her dress itself. Remember, I was going to bring in a little bit of this thread and stitch there, but I thought it would just be a little bit too much. I just think the gold there and the velvet is enough, along with this little headdress and lace. And then I like this with our little pockets on both sides. And then when it is folded over, that's how the front is going to look. And that is how the back is going to look. And I still have not decided on the closure. I may just wrap some gold ribbon around it. I do have a couple of tassels. That one's huge. I've got some small ones, both the white and the gold. And then I have these little things here. I wish I had more like costume jewelry, like brooches and what have you, that I could tie. But that actually may look okay once I have, because I don't want it too big. But once I have the ribbon around it and that, I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, that is my video for today. This lovely canvas journal cover. And next time we will work on the journal itself. As always, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you, each and every one of you, your support, your lovely comments, that like button, like they say, and subscribing. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks and bye-bye.